Have you ever felt like life's challenges are too much to bear? What if I told you that indeed there is a timeless recipe to not just survive but thrive during tough times, making those tough times into something that you can build on? In the next 7 minutes or so, I'll share some stories and basically three ancient principles that can transform your perspective and hopefully help you navigate adversity with grace. Welcome back to my channel, to the Mystic Millionaire. It's been a while that I have not been recording anything, and the reason behind that is indeed tied to what I'm going to share in this video. So I had 2 weeks that were very tough for me. Things were happening that were out of my control, and they were directly affecting my health, my mood, my happiness, my daily function. And after those 2 weeks, basically, I was sort of derailed out of my habit and routines of sharing these videos, which are, by the way, all about the books that I have read and my personal takeaways out of them. So me navigating and weathering through those storms made me think and reflect on sharing these principles, which I call it PASSAMORI, and I will introduce and explain them more. The term PASSAMORI has three parts. First part is pass, and the second part is amor, and the last part is mori. So the amor and mori are sort of combined, and there are basically three principles that I am drawing these lessons from. Two of them are from Stoicism and one is from Sufism. That doesn't mean that you cannot find these in other philosophies or you cannot find in other teachings, but these are the sources of my learning. So there is a concept which is called Amor Fati, which can be translated from Latin to English as love of fate. It's a Stoic concept. And by the way, Stoicism is an ancient philosophy that some notable Greek philosophers as well as some notable Roman philosophers have been practicing it. And the very interesting thing about this particular philosophy is that it's not just about thinking as it is described for the traditional philosophy, but rather it's a very practical recipe for our daily life. And so, as I mentioned, the two concepts are from Stoicism. One is Amor Fati, which I already explained. The second one is Memento Mori. It's a reminder of mortality, and that also can be translated as you can leave anytime. Remember, you will die. The more direct and literal translation is remember, you will die, Memento Mori. And the last part, which comes in the first part of that acronym that I have created, PASSAMORI, is from this phrase that might be more familiar for all of us, which is these too shall pass. It's sort of a Sufi or mystic saying that emphasizes the very transient nature of all things. When it comes to Amor Fati, we have to remember that we need to embrace all experiences and viewing them just as some necessary parts of our journey. And whatever happens, it's just better to lean toward it and view it as it is and accept it. And acceptance here is not translated into giving up, but it's actually the first step into having an appropriate approach toward it. So the application is that the application is my personal story. So during those 2 tough weeks, I just tried to accept whatever that was going and was out of my control, related to the politics or things that are decided beyond my control. So I had to remind myself that I have to first accept what's happening instead of trying to deny it. And that's very powerful, and it's a very important step that really helps. And so the second concept, which is memento mori, and it's a reflection, it's a constant reflection on mortality to inspire purposeful living. One of the very interesting stories that he explains related to Stoicism and this particular concept, memento mori, is the story of Marcus Aurelius, which was a very powerful Roman Empire who, interestingly, happened to be a practicing Stoic philosopher too. Right? I know we usually don't render and see kings and emperors as people who practice philosophy or practice Stoicism in this case, but he was sort of among the very rare cases. So there's a story that one day he was coming back from a very massive victory, basically in the battlefield, and on the cart, on whatever that was the vehicle at the time that he was driving back to his town, where people were lining up to cheer and welcome him and shoot out for him, he just had asked a slave of him who, I mean, by the way, this was unfortunately a common practice at the time. Anyway, he had asked him to every now and then, just from the back, come and whisper something into his ears. And can you guess what that was? Memento mori. Remember, you will die. And the reason was that he didn't want to be pumped into this sense that as if now the entire world is belonging to him, and he wanted to stay humble and grounded and remember that everything can pass. And the third piece, these too shall pass, and this is something that I've personally learned from Rumi, but it's a very common reminder among Sufis, and most probably very similar concepts are practiced among other branches of mysticism. And it's all about recognizing the impermanence of both good and bad times. A true Sufi in this sense, in the sense of this too shall pass, is that he or she creates an intentional sense of indifference. So he or she makes a distance, a sort of a detachment about whatever he or she is feeling at the moment. So to wrap up, PASSAMORI is encapsulating those three principles: Amor Fati, accept your situation; Memento Mori, remember you will die, and let that decide how you're approaching anything, whether it's a good thing or bad thing, in the perspective that one day, whether it's the next minute or 90 years from now, we will all die. It's just meaningless. And the last one, these too shall pass, whatever it is. So when you are high and happy and things are going well, try to be humble. Remember that luck is a factor and this might not last. And when also on the other side, things are gloomy and everything seems doomed and it's just tough, basically, be kind to yourself and be compassionate toward yourself. Remind that this is gonna pass as well. At the moment it might seem not passing, but remember, it's gonna pass, and believe me on that. So I would like to encourage you to reflect on any current challenge that maybe at this moment you have, or at this stage of your life you have, and try to apply this concept of PASSAMORI. And I would be very happy to share any stories or your thoughts on this phrase PASSAMORI that basically I've created to make it easy to remember those three principles. You can leave comments, and by the way, if you have been enjoying or finding this content useful in any sense, it would be greatly appreciated if you can subscribe or share this story with someone who you might think can find it useful. So that's it for today. PASSAMORI, and see you next time.